Welcome to Ark 2v2, where two teams go head-to-head in a giant war across all of Ark's maps, competing to be the ultimate duo. Everything from game, map, rule set, and even mods has been decided upon and agreed upon between both teams, meaning that the only thing standing between each team and victory is pure skill. We are back for episode 2 of the Ark modded series. Before we get started, I'm currently trying to make it to 10,000 subs, and if you could help me get there, that would mean a lot to me, and thank you guys so much for the support on the last video. We are starting this episode right where we left off, taming this Giga and knocking it down, which luckily got done with literally nobody interfering. All I gotta do now is get as many narco berries as I can to keep it down for a second, because I forgot the narcotics at my base, so I need to go back and get those, but I want to feed it some first so we have a little bit of a buffer, because I only got about 3 minutes to go back and get them, and I really do not want to be gone for too long in case somebody tries to mess with it. On top of getting it down though, I also found mutton in the process and was able to stack a bunch inside of it, so we're gonna get pretty much as perfect of a tame as we can. And after going back to base to grab the narcotics, I headed back, pretty much just killed everything that I could around the Giga, and then sat there and waited. Luckily for us, nobody messed with it at all. Nobody even saw it. Nobody said anything, so we were able to get it up really easily with no problems. Just sit there and feed it some narcotics for a little bit. Luckily for us, it seemed like we got a pretty high melee one. The only thing we're really looking at is melee, and we're sitting at 185, and considering these things can come out with less than 100 at a low level, this is pretty solid. And like I said, it's really the only stat that we care about. We'll go for higher ones later, but this is a great one for the first day. After we got back to base, it was time to put down the new dragon eggs and just kind of wait for them to hatch. And on top of that, we started breeding the Pteranodons, meaning that we were just going to start pumping out dinos as quickly as we possibly could. For those of you wondering how this Giga is going to fit in this cave without taking up too much room, they are just tall enough to stand out of this water in the corner. And since we're not really using it yet, and we probably won't really ever use it, it's really not a bad spot to store them. It stops them from poking their heads through the ceiling where somebody could possibly throw a grenade and damage them, or do any glitchy things to see that we even have it. So this will keep it very safe, keep it hidden away, and it honestly kind of looks kind of funny to have their head just poking out of the water like that. On top of that, I was able to go get all of the resources we needed for a mining drill. Luckily to us, for the black pearls that are in Vikings Bay, which I went and got earlier, as well as a bunch of other resources that we've kind of just been stockpiling while waiting for these. This mining drill was insane, and the first thing we had to do after making it was go make sure that we had enough metal in the base to make a metal base, some metal cliff plats, which I'll show you why later, and more importantly, our teleporters, as well as anything else we might need with that metal. Obviously, we put one teleporter at base so we'd be able to get back, and like I said in yesterday's episode, we do not have the remote, so we have to go around and put teleporters at every access point that we'd like to be able to get to on the map, and every access point that we'd like to be able to get back to base from on this. Because part of our rule set was that we did not want people to be able to use the remote to just get back whenever they wanted, because that would kind of reduce the amount of PvP that we'd see. Aside from putting one at the berries, I was going to put one at our actual base location. Now, I wanted one by green so we could continue to get as many berries as possible, that way we could keep our taming spree going. But I also wanted to go put one at our main base location, which I'll show you guys in just a second. On the way there though, why not grab some of the deep sea loot crates, as I was finally high enough level. And in the desert, we found a car, which it wasn't that crazy, but getting another decently high tier dino that wasn't terrible level would not be one of the worst things that we could do, so maybe we'll come back and look at that later in the episode. After grabbing a couple of deep sea drops with nothing really crazy, and then we headed to a base spot that a lot of people don't know exists. Now, I'm sure most of you guys have heard of it, but as far as spots in Ragnarok, this is one of the most unknown spots, especially because you really can't build in it, but I'm going to show you guys how we plan to. First, to get in, you need to go to this little crack in the desert. I soul-balled my bird because I was really hoping that I wouldn't die and that I'd just be able to make it through this. You have to do a bunch of parkour inside of this little sand cave. Now, there's a lot of ways to die doing this, a lot of traps and stuff that you have to stay clear away from, but if you can hit the letters and the buttons in the right order, after doing all this parkour, which luckily I knew we were going to build here, so I may have practiced it a few times before the server went up, you get this giant trap door in the floor to open. And this trap door would be where we'd build our starter base as we went through the cave, but later in the playthrough, we will go back all the way to the end of the cave and build up there so we have an easier way to get out, a great spot to defend, and make it pretty much impossible for people to get to us. Unfortunately, as you can see though, you can't build on this cave. You can't build on the floor. The floor doesn't count as a floor, so we have to be a little smarter than that. First, we're going to put down rafts, because that gives us a platform that we can build on in the water, and we can put a teleporter here for now until we come back later. But the bigger plan for this entire cave and the way that we're going to be able to keep it up is going to be something else. But we'll look at that in just a second. First, we got to claim these nice baby dragons that are finally done hatching, and we do have a breed pair of poisons, and on top of that we have the really high lightning and the poison that's almost done raising from earlier, which puts us again at having probably the most powerful dinos on the server out of everybody that started so far. But not just those, the 156 Griffin that Jake was taming was also going to be a very powerful addition to our fleet once I gave it some mutton to help it get up quickly. And it was pretty clear to me, and I think everybody that had seen our progress so far, that we were very flyer heavy, but that was good. We were pretty much going to be a sky power for a little bit, other than the Giga. But I do need to look around and also try and find some land tames, at least as many as I possibly can, because we are going to need an ability to defend our base on land. We cannot just do this with dragon. Then it was time to head back to our base location and show you guys why I had the cliff platform. You see, I can't build on the ground here as it doesn't count as ground, but I can take my stuff off the raft from earlier and put it onto a cliff platform, specifically an S+ cliff platform, which is a lot bigger. So once getting the teleporter down, we actually started to make a decent little metal base down there. For now, it's just going to contain turrets and block the rest of the cave so nobody can build up behind us. And we also decided to try and set teleporters a little bit deeper in the cave and claim some of that as well. That way, when we actually go to do this and get through it, which we really don't know how to do yet, we're going to have to figure that out as well. We can go up through the cave and we'll have little checkpoints that are set as teleporters, so that way we won't have to do the entire thing every time. And like I said, hopefully towards the next episode we will get to all the way to the back of the cave and actually build our base back there, meaning that whoever wants to raid us will have to come through all of this insane shit to get to any of our dinos. After blocking off our true base spot, though, I went back to check on all the stuff that we had been smelting. We had almost 10k ingots and a bunch of charcoal, which was pretty freaking insane and was setting us up to build a giant base tomorrow if we could get the paste and other things that we'd need for it. But for now, we were pretty set up. We had a lot of dinos, and just for reference, this is still the first day of the server. On top of this, we started hatching the Pteranodon egg, and that'll be up in just a little bit. But in the meantime, Jake found an alpha Carno, and we could just kill it for levels using our long neck, but we do also have the Giga, and while I can't ride it, that doesn't mean we cannot whistle it. So we hopped on some PTs. Jake brought his Griffin, and we tried to just get as many levels on as many different things as we could, but the Giga can take most of them because once we can ride it, it'll probably be our most powerful creature for quite a long time. And we spent long enough on that by the time we had gotten back, the bird was hatched, and it had pretty good stats and was level 254, which was pretty solid. Again, we're gonna have, by tomorrow, a freaking army of rideable dinos, mostly air ones, but that does not matter because we are going to take over the skies, go find as many land dinos as we can, and build as much stuff as we can. But because, like I said, this is still the first day on the server, I ended up getting off for the night. But the next day, as soon as I got on, I decided it was time for another dragon run. Now, none of our babies were up from yesterday because I had picked them all up overnight in case they wanted to starve. But I do want to talk about a long-standing tradition on these servers real quick. A lot of times when we play these servers, for some reason, whatever it is, I always get amazing dragon eggs, and Jackson always gets shitty ones. And because he's on the other team, I decided to do another dragon run, but purposely leave all the shitty ones for him. And I can't say that I didn't only find shitty ones because I found a 210 poison, which again follows the rate of the server. He's not always wrong with me getting crazy dragon eggs. It's just how Ark just loves me. It's just how it goes. But on top of the 210 poison, I was also able to pick up another 222 poison egg, which would probably give us great breeders. Our first high level fire egg, which was a 198 fire, which we will definitely need in case we see an alpha dragon to kill it, and we just need all of the types to combat whatever we want with them. I found another 222 lightning wyvern, which we can hope will be a breeder for Jake's, but even if it's not, it's a great one to add to our fleet. And I know I talked about being really flyer heavy yesterday, so why am I still looking for these? Well, because they're really easy, and there's no reason not to, because we got another 198 poison, and like I said, I left all the shitty ones for Jackson to find, so he'd be mad about his runs. On top of that, though, like I said, I did leave all of the babies in soul balls overnight in fear of them starving, so I put all of them back out, gave them the food that they had, and we do have the S+ nanny, so I shouldn't have been too scared, but I was just a little bit scared, and there's no reason to lose that progress if we can just be patient the next day. After that, I went out Spino hunting to get more levels, and even took Jake's bird out for a spin to help me, and then once I got back, I was finally high enough level to make turrets, and I had to get off soon. This was just a very short play session, but I needed to get turrets down before I got off, and honestly, I would ideally like to get down to the other base before I get off and get a chemistry bench, but before I get down to the other base, I have to put the foundation up. So I used a bunch of the metal and cementing paste, as well as a bunch of the other resources we found yesterday, to head down to our base in the little desert puzzle cave, and put down as much of a foundation on that cliff platform as I could, bring all of our stuff down there, generators, all of our blueprints, and pretty much set up the turrets that I had just made down there. And we will keep our Highlands base for like I said, a cover-up base, which we'll talk about that whole plan in a second in case you guys didn't catch it last episode, but we're gonna kind of just keep it as dino base for now with the teleporter in it, and we're gonna move all the turrets and everything down there. And on a move down there, I did have enough resources to make our chem bench, as well as I was high enough level, so I went ahead and made that as well, and logged off for a little bit, but I'd be back on later. And when I got back on later, Jake had already been on. He had been taming a bunch of stuff as well as farming a ton of resources and was putting metal in as soon as I got back and was going to get more. We were going to have so much stuff by the end of this day. But it wasn't just that. On top of that, he had been taming a bunch of other stuff, and he had taken care of all of the dragons up to maturity, named some of them, and we were kind of picking out with their names what each one was going to be. We had dragons for speed, dragons for fighting, dragons for leveling, all sorts of different stuff. And on top of that, he had also tamed a breed pair of Argentavises that we could breed. They may not have a ton of use right now because we do have unlimited weight as well as classic flyers, so we can fly pretty fast, but we may use them at some point. After that, I went out and leveled up my personal 222 lightning wyvern, and Jake had his as well. We didn't have ones that were able to breed, but it was okay because we both still had a really strong dino that we could go around, kill stuff on, and anything that we needed to do, anything that we needed to kill, or anything that was in our way, we could get rid of with these dragons, and we both had one, which was amazing. Now, partially for resources, but partially for leveling up the dragon, because that's what I spent the next bit of time doing. I went and grabbed all the beaver dams and then used the dragon to kill the beavers that were lured to me instantly, but it was a great great way for XP and got us the cementing paste we needed. And at Green Knob I found a Titanosaur. We'll come back to that in a little bit, but keeping it in mind, we could tame it or we could kill it, but for now I think we're just going to leave it here and come back to it later. And while taking my dragon out on a run, I went for some deep sea crates, but not for the only sole purpose of getting crates, but also for the purpose of death worms. I really don't need much from the death worms. The horns will be nice in case we need them, but ideally I get to find them so I can kill them for levels, and the lightning dragon is plenty strong enough to do so. But on top of that, I can grab the desert drops as well. And like I said, I will get some resources from them, but each death worm was giving me like 10 levels, and I did find a few of them while I was out getting the drops. From our first drop, we got a Senate U Tyrannus saddle as well as another saddle blueprint, and from our second drop, we got another saddle as well as a blueprint for a riot helmet, which we probably won't use, but in the event that we do need riot for some reason over flak, whatever we decide, we will have it. And on top of that, I was able to find another death worm right outside of our cave. And the thing that I was noticing is from these, I'm getting a bunch of keratin, which is going to be great for getting cementing paste, but also, yes, those tons of levels. Once getting back to our dino base in the Highlands cave, the baby RG that we had just bred was up, and it came out at 260 and with pretty much all of the good stats from both parents, which was going to give us an amazing baby if we got the full imprinting. Again, what will we use this for? I'm not sure yet, but probably something. And then we went back to the Titanosaur. Because we both had our lightning wyverns, this thing was going to be extremely easy to kill, and if we made sure that one of us got the kill, we'd make sure that we both got a ton of levels and that our dragons got a bunch of levels as well. Because yesterday when the Giga got the Carno kill, for whatever reason, we really didn't get much XP from it, probably because the XP went to the Giga. But when Jake dropped it, my dragon got 13 levels, and Jake got 12 levels, as well as Jake's dragon got some levels as well. I didn't get a lot because I'm pretty high level, but I did get a little bit, and like I said, it was more about leveling our dragons and Jake up, so that way we would have an equal team that was fairly usable. After killing the Titanosaur, all of the resources we had gotten were getting dropped off to make cementing paste, as well as a bunch of metal stuff, because we are going to start expanding the base soon, and we need to start working our way through the cave and get to our actual base spot, because at this point we are still fairly raidable, even if we're not as raidable as we may think. But this cave was not something that I've ever done before. I've done a lot of stuff and I have a lot of hours in Ark, but I want you guys to know that those hours were very focused on very limited situations because I just enjoyed those situations, and that this time going outside of my comfort zone and doing caves like this, something I've never done before, was pretty fun, but it was also pretty hard because we were also trying not to use, I mean, we didn't have a thing against using YouTube videos, it was just like we didn't think we needed them, we were a little too overconfident, but we did spend a couple hours getting through the cave because we kept setting up teleporters through on the way there, finding as many different things as we could, trying to get all the drops that we could as well, because a lot of these had decent drops inside of them, and eventually just trying to make it to the end of the cave. But we also found some really cool areas inside, and as well as Jake noticed something kind of crazy. While this was really hard to get through, very confusing, there was tons of buttons and weird shit that we needed, as well as we needed multiple YouTube videos to get us through it. This was now our natural base defense. As long as we didn't let someone in through the exit, which someone has to be outside of, it really didn't matter. Somebody was going to have to come through this with all of their stuff to raid us while fighting our base at the same time. And there was a few places that we found specifically that would be really good for this. One of them was this parkour area. One, we set up a teleporter at it, but we also saw how large this area was, especially with the cliff platforms. Now this spot would be able to be built later into a giant hanging turret wall, as well as a bunch of dino storage because of the multi-layers that we could fit the platforms on, because it was so tall and had so much space. And lastly, we came to this giant, very confusing maze in which we put one more teleporter and one more cliff platform at the end of, and then it was time for the ultimate sacrifice from Jacob himself. We got to a point where you either had to sacrifice a dino or a person, and we didn't know it, but this was pretty much the end of the cave, and Jake just went ahead and sent it down the hatch because he felt that's what was necessary, and he didn't have anything on him. And after he sent it down the hole, down one long quick hallway, I had found where we were actually going to build our base. Now from my knowledge, I've never, like I said, killed this little mini boss in here, but I'm pretty sure this is where it spawns, but as long as we don't spawn it, we can build here. However, once again, like the rest of the cave, we can't actually build here. You can't place anything on the ground, it doesn't count as ground or anything that you can build on, but we can put down a raft, put a bed on it, and then put a teleporter on it and head to the end. And to show you guys how close the end is, it is literally right here. You drop down the little waterfall where the raft was, and you can go right back outside. But we needed to get back in there with cliff platforms, which we did, teleporters, and a bunch of other stuff, and actually start moving our base in, because this was going to be so insanely hard for anybody to find, and even if they did find it, getting the resources through it to raid it was going to be absolutely stupid. And the longer anybody of the other teams waited to get in here, especially the 2v2 team, Nathan and Jackson, the longer they waited, the harder this was going to get, because we were going to start loading that cave up with turrets through all of the hardest to get through parts to make it damn near impossible, as well as making sure not to block the traps so that way they could be to our aid, and after we got our teleporter down, we would never have to go through there again unless for some reason we wanted to, or unless we needed the drops. And this cave is where we set everything else up and got off for the day. But before we do, I want to talk about the exact plan again, because I know we talked about it last episode a little bit, but we can lay it out a little bit better now with you guys actually seeing everything. The idea of this is, because we have the teleporters but we don't have the remote, is that somebody has to have a teleporter at a location or at their base, and every location that they'd like to build a teleporter teleport back to their base from. So right now, we can only teleport back to our base from green or our other bases, because that's the only places that we have teleporters down. This gives the other team an opportunity to break those teleporters, disabling some of your spots to get back to base and making you stay out in the open longer, but it also makes it so that people have a little bit more time out in the open in general to where they could be taken advantage of in a PvP scenario. Our plan is to use the Highlands Cave as our teleporter to get back to this base constantly. It will make them think that we are built there. We can actually build there and build it up as a dinosaur breeding pen, storage base, or something else, which you guys will see something else next episode that we use it for. And then if they see anything or look at anything, it will be at that base. That's where they will think we are built, and they will have no reason to look other places unless it's spots where they're considering building. And this is not one in my mind that I see them building in. Then we'll have a teleport set up from there back to here, where we'll have everything actually set up in an almost impossible to raid actual base. We'll set up dino storage and everything else and make this pretty much the perfect mirage hiding our base, but alongside of that make our base so impenetrable that even if they did find it, there is no getting away from it. As I mentioned at the beginning, I am currently trying to make it to 10,000 subscribers, and if you guys could help me get there, that would mean a lot to me. Thank you guys so much for the support on the first video. This channel was something else, and seeing me actually be able to upload gameplay of a game that I really do enjoy is really fun. I love to see it, Thieves, but Ark is freaking awesome, and being able to upload gameplay instead of videos that are tutorials is way better. So thank you guys so much for the support. It means a lot to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do truly hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.